Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, and this is NFGeeks. This video is for the NFGeeks Facebook forum. Every Sunday, I do an Ask Dr. Mike thread where people get to post questions that they would like me to answer. And this video is an answer to the question that got the most likes and won the contest this past Sunday. It took a little while to make this video because I really wanted to sort of sit with it and ponder it and think about what I wanted to answer, and there were all sorts of recording mishaps after that. So finally, this is the answer to that question. And so the winner of the question, the winner who was going to get their question answered, is Jeff Miller, and a two-time winner now. And so first I'm going to read his question, and then we'll talk about the answer. All right. So Jeff asks, let me get closer so I can read it. If you were in charge of incorporating Myers-Briggs theory into a school curriculum, how would you do it? I mean, besides just giving everybody the MBTI, would you start at the elementary level or wait until middle school or high school? Would you divide classes up by type or have mixed classes but different projects assigned to different temperaments? That's a good question. All right, so the reason why it took me a long time to sort of think of an answer is because I wanted to question the actual, the assumption that's in that question that's sort of lurking in there and we don't really even realize it's in there. And it's not an assumption by Jeff, it's an assumption by everybody who would pose that question, so, you know, it's in there. And that assumption is the relationship between school and MBTI, or what it should be. So let's take a look. So we got this thing. It's called school or education, you know, and obviously I'm talking about education in the United States, but I'm sure this can apply to education around the world. So we have this thing, it's called school, it's called education, whatever it is, okay, it exists, it operates a certain way, it's following certain paradigms, it's structured a certain way, the people in it act a certain way, it has specific goals, you know, whatever, there it is, it's education. And here's this other thing called MBTI. And what the question is asking is, how do we take this and put it inside of this and make it do something here, like that? So I take MBTI and I put it in the mix, you know, I make it part of curriculum or the structure or whatever, and then, you know, how do I do that so that it will have an impact in whatever it is it's doing, okay, as an education system, okay? Now the assumption I'm going to challenge is that that should be the relationship, that we should accept the education system as is, and that what we need to do is figure out a way of getting MBTI to adapt and get in there and do something, okay? And I don't think that's what we should do at all. I think we have to go to that assumption and flip it around, okay? And so what I'm actually going to answer, and my answer is that we need to start from a whole different place, which is that the relationship is the reverse, which is, here's this thing called personality type, and how do we get education to adapt to it so that the education does the best it can using the MBTI, okay? So it's the total opposite situation. So it's not that MBTI should be altered or fixed in a certain way that it goes inside education. It should be the other way around. How do we, education should be organized and thought about in a certain way that it can fit in with Myers-Briggs and have results, okay? Because Myers-Briggs is at the center of it. Myers-Briggs is the thing that doesn't need to change, education. Whereas in the other way, it's, you know, we're trying to take MBTI and manipulate it and try to fit it into whatever holes it can fit in education, okay? So my answer is coming from that position, all right, that we need to switch the whole thing. And so what I'm really saying, too, is that the education system as it exists needs to go bye-bye. All right? It's not helpful. It's not helpful even independent of MBTI. That's actually a greater point here. So why would I say that? Why would I not want it to be like this? It's because I feel that the education system as it exists is not capable of using MBTI to its fullest. Okay, and that because this is organized the way it's organized, it'll take Myers-Briggs, it'll take personality typology, whatever, and basically alter it in such a way that it becomes useless within the system. Okay, it'll make MBTI conform to it. That's the real problem. Okay, and in the conforming, it'll become unrecognizable, or its benefits will not be seen. It will not be used. You know what I mean? You won't see anything that'll be of any use to it at all, because this system is rigid. It's a rigid system. It's not a flexible system. There's certain ways to do things. There's some specific goals. There's, it doesn't mean that doesn't have theory. There's pedagogy and things, but there's certain way that pedagogy is to be implemented. There's certain structures that need to be maintained no matter what. Certain behaviors. School is very behavior oriented. It wants specific behaviors out of students, okay, and nothing else. And if the MBTI doesn't produce the wanted behaviors, then it's not going to be used, okay. And so MBTI will have to constantly be conforming to it. All right. Now you may argue, or somebody may argue, that, well, couldn't we change it enough so that it does work in that? I don't think so, for two reasons. One is that any kind of change that happens in the school system is one that's sort of forced by a personality. That's why these things are in the movies, and we love these movies of that teacher who takes over the rough classroom, that nobody cared about, and then by the end they're doing Macbeth. Or the person who takes over the school that's run by gangs, and now it turns it into a real school. The principal that takes over. We love those stories, and they're based on true stories. But the problem is that when that happens, the reality is that as soon as that person retires or leaves or whatever, the school system slowly reverts back to its dysfunctional self. Okay. And that's because the change within that system wasn't actually a systemic change. It was a change that was being driven by a personality. Okay, really good change is when a system is changed in such a way that it doesn't matter what the personality is within the system, the new system, whatever. The new system creates the output or reaches the goals that it was designed to reach, no matter what. Okay, so for example, government is like that. And even the United States, the United States has endured, bad presidents and all sorts of bad events, but the system was designed in such a way that it doesn't matter who's president. Okay, even a bad president will not disrupt the whole system, and the government and the country will still be moving forward. And that doesn't happen in education. And my other opinion about it is that for MBTI to have any real impact in that system, to make it a new system, it's going to be so unraveled and so disconnected that you might as well just completely get rid of it and have a new system. Okay, it's because we would have to change so much in the school system in order to make this really, viable and really, really useful, that we might as well just keep going and start over. And that's not a terrible thing, honestly. School sucks the life out of learning and knowledge and the fun of it and the joy of learning. High school in particular. I always say that in class that we should blow up high schools. And by blow up, I don't mean planes into high schools. Okay, I mean we do it officially. We go with the guys who put the C4 on the supports, and then they do this, and we all clap at the giant gray dust cloud, that kind of thing. And I say that because what did we all really learn in high school? Basically, how to do the least amount of work in the shortest amount of time, okay, with the least amount of effort, so I can get out of there as soon as possible. Okay, a life lesson that is not applicable anywhere under any conditions. So that's bad. And so because it's so dysfunctional and rigid, it would have to be altered so much for MBTI to be useful. Then what's the point of even having that school system? We should just get rid of it, have another school system. Okay, so that's one reason why the personality type can't go into the school system. It's too rigid, it's too dysfunctional, it'll just make this useless. Okay, so what we want, again, is the opposite, having a school system that is flexible and adaptable to MBTI, okay, to personality type. All right, so then what's my answer? I think, this is the part I needed to think about, okay, because that rant about high school, I say that in class. I've always had that about it. But what can we do? What I propose is that what model that would help Myers-Briggs foster learning at any age, at any level, is the Montessori model. So what I'm advocating is that instead of trying to take Myers-Briggs and put it into schools, what we need is a flexible model that can go around it, and that's the Montessori model of schooling. Okay, that's the most flexible and the one that would be most open to Myers-Briggs and would able to use the Myers-Briggs the most. Okay, it absolutely is the best school for this, in my opinion. Okay, so for those of you who don't know Montessori, if you've never been in a Montessori school, a Montessori school is completely opposite of school as we know it. Okay, again, school is very, regular elementary school is very rigid. There's certain learning modules and, various, goals that must be met in terms of skills and, all that. That's, the current level. But here's what Montessori school is. So first of all, it's a very open, free-flowing model. Okay. In Montessori schools, there's mixed ages. Okay, so it's not like school where everybody, all the 9-year-olds are together in the 4th grade or whatever. It's mixed ages. Okay, and for MBTI, then we'd make sure that they had mixed types, so mixed ages and a mix of types and temperaments. Okay, you could have the model through any age, like through middle school, high school, even college, I suppose. Although, obviously most people know it through elementary school. And that's good because there could be a very strong use of typology on the elementary level through Montessori, which wouldn't occur not only in the standard school, but even with the MBTI, with the inventory, even as we understand it in terms of typing people. Okay, we'll get to that hopefully. Okay, so there's totally this mix of age. The classroom is totally open, meaning that you could walk around and be anywhere you want within the classroom. Okay, there's no desks, rigid. There's the board and here's the desk. It's not like that. It's very, very free flowing. I'm sure there's desks and tables, but it's not sitting in a row. You have to sit at your desk. Actually, most kids, as far as I understand, are walking around. Okay, they're not sitting down at all. So it's an open classroom where you can go anywhere you want within the classroom. Usually there's this time. There's this for a couple of hours, you can kind of study whatever you want. Within the prescribed zone. So a teacher may say, okay, here are all the things you can learn today. And then you just go on your own and you learn and you explore. It's very exploratory. I mean, granted, it's not anything, when they do this. There might be specific things that are in play. But it's very sort of open-ended, okay? You can take your time with whatever is within the system, within that classroom that you want to learn from, okay? And it's very, it's exploration, and I think that all of that would be, best for MBTI. So one thing that you could do, otherwise, so first, obviously, we mix up the type. So, because that was in Jeff's question, do we put all the NFs together? Hell no. We do, we do a mix. The best of our ability, we mix the types. Just like you mix the ages, we mix the types and temperaments. Okay, that would be the best thing to do. The curriculum could be type or temperament constructed. Okay, so in other words, you can pick activities that are sort of NT related in a certain way, in a broad sense. Okay, but again, it's not forced. It's exploratory, so you can take your time going around the room exploring things. Okay, different things that might be related to NTs or NFs or SPs or whatever. You certainly could do a curriculum where all four. Or you could do a subject like history and then have 4 zones that are sort of NF, NT, SP, where the learning or whatever's going on is like that, and let people naturally go around the room to explore those things. So you could either make a day or a whole time period sort of related to a temperament, or you can do 4 temperaments on a subject, and people can just kind of go wherever it is they want to go. And learn the best way they want to learn, give a way of SPs to learn history, NFs, whatever, and just let people run around. But just because you're an NF doesn't mean you have to stay with that stuff. You can go to all 4 places, and so can anybody else. All right. Now, saying that, this is where type is really going to get interesting, because I'll bet you dollars to donuts this actually goes on now in Montessori schools without anybody knowing it. Is that kids would gravitate naturally to their type and temperament tendencies. I don't think you would have to funnel or force anything on any of the kids. You can create a situation where, again, you're studying a subject and you have all things for all four temperaments that anyone can go around, and kids would explore all four. But in the end, they'd land, on their temperament. You'd be able to sort of type kids just by observing where they gravitate to, in terms of the classroom. Okay, and again, they're not going to gravitate just to one thing, and you don't have to funnel them. All right, they can go around the room and explore whatever way they want to explore through the different temperament types, whatever. But in the end, they would settle, where they'd settle, and that would be a very fascinating thing to see. I would love to see research done on that. One thing that would have to happen, though, is that the trained teachers, you got to be trained in Montessori. Not everybody can be a Montessori teacher. But the Montessori teachers would all need to be MBTI professionals. Okay, they would need to be certified practitioners or whatever. It's not enough that they watch NFGeeks. I mean, I'd be flattered, but honestly, it's not enough. They need to have specific training from the Myers-Briggs Foundation to do this, or from another organization that does it, that trains teachers or whatever, but something official, accredited, certified, so that curriculums could actually be constructed in the Montessori setting based on typology. Okay, and again, it's not rigid. It's not this sort of rigid learning module, strict skill thing like we have in school. It's it's this very free flowing thing going on, where typology is simply at the center in terms of what the kids are going to be interested in or not or whatever, and letting people explore. In fact, the kids would get to explore the consciousness of other types and other temperaments. You could actually use it as a way for kids to really sort of learn to accept each other based on type and temperament too, because not only would they all be in the classroom together, they do that anyway, but they would be able to explore each other's world and see how it works, even on the same subject, and that would be very nice. Another thing that I thought about is that I definitely feel that SPs would benefit the most of this system, okay? And I'll bet you anything they thrive in Montessori schools because it gives them the freedom that they wish in terms of learning. SPs are the most likely to drop out of college, and it's not because they're stupid, it's because of the rigidity of college, having to do things this way, the way they want, where the teacher wants. There's no freedom. I got to study subjects I don't even care about. It's all very rigid, and then they just say, oh, the heck with it. But imagine under a Montessori system where the SPs can explore exactly the way they want to explore with the freedom that they want. I mean, honestly, that's a situation where SPs can thrive in education. Now, that's not saying that SJs or any of the Js wouldn't. I think they would too, because if you're an SJ, if you're any J, you don't have to be an SJ, because this is true about the INFJs. If there's no order in a system, you'll create it. So the J kids, all the judging kids, would just create a judging, ordered situation for themselves. In terms of freedom, they would then follow the freedom of doing that. Of creating the judging. That would be another thing too. You could have you could also see where judgers and perceivers lie. You could take MBTI and use it in all sorts of different ways to see where people have their interests, where they have their skills, and allow them to naturally find them. Doing it, because you would go all the way around the classroom. It wouldn't be any of these forced things that go on. So that's my answer to it. In review, in summary, I should say, is we shouldn't take MBTI and put it into school because it won't work. School is too dysfunctional and we'll just snuff this out. We should make MBTI the center of education and take a model to adapt to it. The model that adapts the best is the Montessori model, in my opinion. Okay, so that's my answer, and feel free to debate and discuss about what education system you think would be best. And maybe homeschooling is the answer. Who can say? But leave comments or talk on the NFGeeks forum about what you think the best education system is. I would also be interested in hearing what education system you went through. Okay, my strongest educational experience has been through Catholicism. All my graduate degrees are from a Catholic university, and I'm Jesuit educated. So, that kind of, it's kind of funny because being taught by Jesuits is simultaneously very free-flowing and rigid all at once. Jesuits are very open-minded on one level, then on another level, totally not open-minded. So it's kind of funny. So talk about that too, how your own education sort of influences your answer. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Can't wait to hear about what you think.